Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation and for coming here tonight. I've been involved in entrepreneurship and the use of technology since 2008. The use of technology, how technology is redefining society, and how society is also using that technology to participate better, to engage, to create a community between society, and also to engage with their governments. I want to tell you a little bit about how we started. We began as a company in 2008. It was a company that I developed while at school. It was an SMS gateway, so we used it. We created all the infrastructure to send SMS to hospitals or even movie tickets, and we were doing a lot of that stuff. But in 2009, there were midterm elections in Mexico, and I was introduced through a professor at MIT. I was introduced to another student at MIT, and he talked me into creating something for citizens to participate using our technology that we already developed in the midterm elections of Mexico, and that's when we launched Cuidemos el Voto, which means let's protect the vote. Back in 2009, what we did is we just used the SMS gateway that we already had, and we let citizens to participate and to start sending text messages and email on our web about all any problem that can happen during the election. It can be election fraud or somebody asking you who you voted for or whatever. That can be difficult to understand in a U.S. context, but in Mexico that's very common. It's very common that elections are nobody trusts the outcome of elections. I don't remember an election that actually people are happy and that everything worked fine. There's always problems. There's always the conspiracy theories that something happened. So this was the first time in 2009 that we did this. It has huge success. We received around 11,000 or between 11,000 or 15,000 validated reports that were forwarded to the police, in 2009. Twitter wasn't a big deal there. It was all SMS and the website. And that's when we decided that we wanted to start exploring how the same technology that we were using for marketing purposes also to civic issues. Then, in the same year, in 2009, this happened. The president of Mexico back then decided that he wanted to tax the internet. He proposed to the Congress a 3% extra tax on the internet. One professor from the UNAM, which is the biggest university in Mexico, he wrote a post that said why that tax is regressive and why internet is a necessity. So we went out there, the same guys that created Cuidemos el Voto, we went out there and asked a congressman and asked him, what do you think about why internet is a necessity? What do you think about this post? And he said, internet is only a necessity to watch porn. And so what we did is we had him on camera, we put this video on Twitter, and then this hashtag Internet Necesario, Internet is a necessity, started to happen in Mexico. This was in late November 2009. Then it was creating a huge conversation on Twitter, and then we started asking a local blog in Mexico asked a senator what she thought about this conversation happening on Twitter, and she said, I don't have a Twitter account because I do have a job. So this kind of small fragments really generated like a new movement that started on Twitter, ended up on the streets, and then ended up on the Senate when we were discussing with the Congress why the 3% tax against the internet is a stupid thing to do. So I believe there's a before and after in terms of the use of Twitter for civic purposes in Mexico. These projects generated, for the first time, the politicians understood that there were citizens out there that could listen to them, and some of them actually created their Twitter accounts. And when they started receiving all bad words, they closed the accounts because I don't know what they expected. It was the first time that Mexicans had direct access to politicians. The internet has had this democratization effect, and for the first time we were able to talk directly to our representatives. This was back in 2009. Perhaps back then you haven't heard that in Mexico, you haven't heard all the violence that spread in Mexico, but then all the security situation happened. And it started first it started since 2011, but it was until 2009 that it really became a major concern in Mexico. It was it didn't happen suddenly. It happened. The truth is that it happened slowly, and thanks to the indifference of citizens, we didn't participate. We didn't engage. We knew that all the violence was happening. We knew what drug dealing was taking big stands in all parts of the country. However, we didn't care, and we just we kept on living in our own world. But and this resignation eventually came against us, and now all the country, well, you know what's going on in Mexico. Although Mexico is much more than all the violence that's going on, however, it's very, very interesting how citizens are using using the internet, are using the social networks, not only to communicate between each other, to create stronger links between each other, and to actually alert what's going on, but also in a way how through the internet the social fabric is being rebuilt in Mexico. There's been a culture of trust. People, well, Andres here, he did a great paper about how all the dynamics on Twitter are happening in Mexico, but it's basically all based on trust. It's basically there are people that they are described as hubs of information that have several 5,000 or 30,000 followers on Twitter, or they have their blogs, and these people they receive all the information from other citizens. And they tell them something's going on in the downtown, there's a gunfight. And then these people validate the information, and once they validate the information based on different sources. First, if I know the guy that is asking me this tip. Second, analyzing the tweets of this guy. Third, trying to corroborate the information with other people I trust. And once they validate the information, they retweet that, and then all the dynamics happen. People start retweeting that information, the media outlets start publishing notes about it, people start avoiding those places. So it's very, very, to say, very artisanal made, it's very, very handmade, but it's all based on trust. It's all the social dynamics based on trust and how they are really using the internet. It's very interesting how the internet, the use of these tools that can be very banal in some other places. The use of these tools are defined by the context in which a society lives. In Mexico, Twitter or other blogs or new media is really used for life-saving issues. And well, in the last few months, we've seen also a Mexican society that has taken to the street, that has been participating much more. We also had an election last year, so that's always it's very sexy to participate in politics. We need to make also sexy to participate in government, not only in politics. But we new generations, we are understanding democracy beyond voting once in a while, and we're not thinking in hierarchies anymore. We're thinking in networks, and we want to see our governments as nodes within this network. And our governments, they still don't understand this. So we're having a clash. Our governments are responding this way. This is the Department of Administrative Modernization of Mexico City. This picture, I could have taken this picture back in 1992, but I took it in June 2012. This is how our governments are responding. This is all the infrastructure they have. This is how they are receiving citizen reports right now. This is how they are analyzing all the data. So there's definitely a deficit in the agility, in the innovation and the capacity of our institutions. This is how they are managing the reports, how they are mapping the information most of the times. So and sometimes also the government responding to all the conversation in Twitter in a kind of paranoid way, creating this kind of laws that the SOPA or the ACTA, or for example, the state of Veracruz in Mexico, they created a law that if you create a rumor on Twitter, you're punished to 5 years in jail. So these kind of things not only hurts the internet, but it reflects a radical disconnection between what citizens are doing and what our governments are proposing, or what our governments are understanding how citizens are communicating.